All right.
Okay, let's
so
just see.
we lost the feed.
Are we back?
We're
Can
back
you guys
now.
see us?
They'll be on.
They're frozen. Okay, we're just waiting for you guys to come back.
You can tell them to refresh if
It's gone again.
tell them to refresh. Okay.
Yep.
Have Lori tell them to refresh.
Oh shit.
Because we seem we're back. Okay, there we go. People are here.
Hold on. I can't see the chat.
Yeah. Ivy Smith says back. So
we're back.
Yeah, I think we're good. So why don't you finish with what you were saying, and
well,
we should be able to...
yeah, it's too bad that all happened because I had all this stuff in my
Sorry.
mind. Hi everybody, welcome back. Sorry, another weird glitch. Clearly,
don't know why.
Right when I was about to say something there.
You were saying that I was kind of grouping everything under one big New Age umbrella. That wasn't. Then you were talking about the channeling thing.
Yeah.
And then the ramp to school.
Right.
And then what?
Right. Because I'm not ashamed of that. I'm really, really glad that I've done the things that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Being a ramp the student, I used to be, was a wonderful experience for me. It was extremely empowering, and that group would be very upset if they were lumped in with New Age for sure. They totally reject New Age and
as an ideology.
Yes, and they're very into politics and sort of being savvy human beings, you know. Mm-hmm. So I just want to say we can't lump it all in together. First of all, I'd like to at least say that. And but I think,
well, I don't even know if for me, what I would say is the ideology is a distinct thing. So there are people who may engage in psi phenomena, mm-hmm. or who may do experiment with psychic types of endeavors, and I wouldn't say that necessarily makes them New Age.
Right. Well, we didn't really talk about that. So yeah, that's why I think it's a really great thing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's an ideology. It's an orientation. It's this idea of your thoughts literally create reality, not just a little bit, but like completely. And I personally think that that's not true, and I think it's also dangerous. So it's not that our minds can't control things in our body. I have a mother who's survived leukemia for more than 20 years, and she's meditated every single day. Her doctors can't understand how she's survived this long. And my mom is not a New Age in any way. Like, she's a very practical New Yorker. But
she learned about visualization on Donahue.
Yeah,
if anybody remembers Donahue.
Totally true. This is my mother.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would distinguish it. Like, I think there's an ideology, and it's an ideology that doesn't require evidence. It's an ideology that, again, speaks to heart-centeredness over the mind. And,
right. But people can also use it as taking responsibility for ourselves. Taking responsibility for our thoughts, taking responsibility. If you look at it in that way, that's not really what you're talking about. So again, I'm just showing there's a spectrum as far as what's getting lumped into the ideology here.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Because I know there's a lot of people out there like me that do consider some channeling, and we don't necessarily take everything as gospel. We listen to some things as theory. We consider them. And I know there's some people who are frustrated, and I just want to speak to that a little bit. But at the same time, I also want to say some of the things in particular that I've learned from you have helped to make me more savvy and more wise about who is speaking to me, to look for these connections. Oftentimes there's connections to the CIA, to also consider that there is potential that there is a grand CIA or some other form of intel experiment going on, and this is showing up in cults and channeling. Like, that is a possibility. So knowing that is very empowering when I consider what I'm listening to.
Yeah, I think the way it comes down, the way I would look at it is that there's a genuine phenomenon there. There's a genuine psi phenomenon that exists. Mm-hmm. You yourself, through your remote viewing, like, participated in an extremely proficient way in that. So that's a real thing. The intelligence communities, not just the American, but many, became aware of this, have been trying to use that to their benefit. So that's a whole separate thing. But the creation of this ideology this turn on, tune in, drop out type of ideology.
Yeah, I get that.
You can see, one can see that the New Age movement has a distinct relationship to the old hippie movement of the 60s. Like you can see that the one really does give birth to the other. So there, it's a mentality, and it's not me trying to deny that there's powerful psi phenomenon relating to channeling. By the way, there's something interesting about that. I don't know that it's actually a genuine thing where a person's actually getting a connection from somewhere else. I've never been convinced of that, but I am convinced that there's something very, very significant going on with some of those people. Like maybe they're tapping into a very deep part of their own consciousness. Like I've often,
we cannot say for certain. We absolutely can't. So what it is, but there seems to be something there sometimes.
It's interesting. I mean, it's worth looking at, and not everyone who channels is a faker. Like I actually don't. I believe that they're not all fakers. I think some of them are, or some of them go into that direction. So yeah, it's complex, and I'm not here to trash everyone who might even be like, hey, you know, I believe in creating my own reality. Okay, but just keep in mind that create your own reality mantra can very easily devolve into a blame the victim mentality, like really, really easily. Bad things happen to someone, you could, you know, and I've heard this. People will say, well, they just didn't create their own reality well enough. So do you say that to a child dying of malnutrition in some other part of the world, or some maybe neighborhood right next to yours? Is that our answer? You know, did they create their own reality? Well, I think that's reprehensible to think such things, but this is something that can come out of that type of mindset. So there are limits to the rationality of this, you know, create your own reality belief system. And I also think that, again, it's a perfect ideology designed to kind of depower us in the face of a power that's staring down at us. You know, if I'm focused only on creating my own reality, well, I do need to create my own reality. We all do. We all have to be responsible for ourselves. But that doesn't take away from the fact that there's someone over there and they're actually acting on you, you know, and it won't do to just pretend. And, you know, I don't want to deal with that because it's negative. So that's all I'm saying.
Like way down here.
Oh, okay.
I hope that hasn't been it, because I keep seeing someone just Tracy typing. I wonder if this is.
I'm reading a question. What do I think about Linda Moulton Howe believing Corey Good's drivel? Why do you think she would believe anything he has to say? I don't know that Linda believes Corey Good. I need to talk with her about that. Does she? Do you know?
I'm not sure either.
Linda has put herself out on the forefront. She's interviewed a lot of people over many, many years. And she's learned that there's a lot of weird things out there that are true. So I think when Linda investigates, and someone should ask her this, you know, what does she think about Corey Good? I don't really know what she thinks about Corey Good. I have no idea. But I have a very high regard for Linda. I've often called her a lion. She is like a lion. She's this fearless lady who just dives into issues and, you know, has done a really good job over many years at ferreting things out. So I give her lots of credit.
I like Linda a lot.
Yeah.
I want to make one more comment about what we were talking about before.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Just how you were talking about with the New Age community, there's this huge focus of looking inward and never looking outward, right? And I think it's I just want to say, of course, it's very important that we are also looking inward and doing our own work. But sometimes on that path, people will get really, they will get so deep into the inward path, we let go of looking at the outward path. And I think that's part of what Richard is pointing out. And I think that's a good point.
Well, yeah.
That, you know, we need to do that. We need to take care of the inside, but we also need to take care of each other and the outside.
Think about this. You hear a lot of folks in that community will say things like, well, that's your truth. This is my truth. And I'm like, you know, don't talk like that to me. Because like, there's no such thing as your truth and my truth. Like, that's not what truth is. Like, truth is an actual thing. Like, it's real. And if it were, and everyone, by the way, goes along with that, whether they realize it or not, because otherwise we wouldn't argue over things that happened. Like there wouldn't be debates over what really happened on 9/11, like, because implicitly we all understand something did happen. Mm-hmm. What is the thing that happened? Mm-hmm. We need to investigate and find out. So when people say, oh, that's your truth or this is my truth, I feel like that's disingenuous. And also I think it's dangerous in the sense that it, again, is another thing to dissolve this great gift that we have of rational inquiry. It's very underrated, and people, I think, all too frequently are willing to just discard it at times.
Right, and I think that's a great point. So
someone writes, you two balance each other out very well. So there you go.
Thank you.
All right, there's another question here. Thanks, Greg Phillips. He says, on a different type of questionable claims, just wanted to follow up with my question from member AMA. Any insights on what's the deal with John Alexander? Oh, golly.
Ooh, you want to take that one?
Let's make this what time is it here? 9:08. We'll probably
there's so many good things.
John Alexander. John, I hope you're listening. Haven't talked to him in a while. We actually haven't talked since we had a big debate in 2011. I was sick as a dog during that debate, incidentally, but it was moderated by Leslie Kane. John Alexander and I debated, is there a UFO cover-up? I said yes, he said no. Like, how do you say no? How do you say that there's no UFO cover-up?
How does
like,
he say
seriously?
No?
Well, he said no because he said, I looked into it and I couldn't find anything. And then that means there's no cover-up. Wow, that's a great conclusion, John Alexander. So what do I think of him? The fact that this man he was very prominent in U.S. non-lethal weapons programs back decades ago, a very knowledgeable person. And actually, let me just say this, like, for a guy who's in the U.S. Army, a very out-of-the-box thinker, like, I'm absolutely giving him credit for that. Into psi phenomenon, visited John Hutchinson. I mean, John Alexander knows that there's a significant phenomenon in this world, and he's talked about it many, many times. So I'll give him all that credit. But to say that there's no cover-up, like, come on, man. How can you be that blind? So is it intentional, or is he deluded, or is he making this up? And that's really the question. And I haven't crawled inside his brain to retrieve that answer. I think he's kind of deluded.
I wonder if he still maintains that position.
Yeah, I'd like to know. I don't know. I don't really care. I honestly don't care. But I think that he's probably. I think he probably believes what he's. I used to not think that. I used to think that he had to be lying, and I think now he might actually believe it. No cover-up. So there you go. Good for him. I have no idea though. So any other good questions?
There's always lots of good questions, and there's always lots of good comments.
I'm really sorry that we lost the connection, but we're seeing that a bunch of you are back. And
I want to just say one comment that I saw that was really funny from Noodles. Bigelow as a Serpo exchange manager. I like that. I like that very much.
Robert Bigelow is someone that I would love to meet, love to have a conversation with. I would feel very, very happy to be in a room with that man, and to kind of pick his brain a little bit to the extent that I would be able to. Mr. Bigelow, if you're listening,
yes, please
contact me anytime. I'd love to chat.
Okay, let's just see. This is just someone saying, Greg Phillips, also the CIA supported Jackson Pollock. The modern abstract art movement was pushed by the CIA to create an image of liberated art.
That's right.
From the West, in contrast to the art from the Soviet Union.
That's exactly right. Nice, good point. The whole abstract expressionist movement was it was promoted by what was called the Congress for Cultural Freedom. There's a good book on this by a writer named Francis Stoner Saunders called The Cultural Cold War. I think it may have a new title now. And it was all about that, how the CIA was very much involved in promoting certain types of culture. And, back in the 1930s, the United States government under FDR promoted modern art as well. But what the CIA did in the 60s, late 50s and early 60s was really like extremist, like stuff that no one in society really liked, to be honest. But they made it happen and they got that out there. And Jackson Pollock was probably the most famous of the beneficiaries of that. So good point. Anything else you're saying there?
Oh, there's lots
You're
of
just
good
scrolling,
stuff.
or?
Yeah, I was just looking at some other things. So
Well,
hold on.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Dolan, are you familiar with the book Future Shock by Alvin Toffler? And what are your thoughts, if any, about it and its connection with your subject matter tonight?
Oh, wow. I probably should have studied up on Future Shock. I mean, I knew about it years ago. I have to say, like, I actually don't remember all of his thesis points, at least off the top of my head.
I think we're going to let you away with that because you remember freaking everything from... You have an incredible memory. So, my God,
thanks,
if there's one thing you can't...
I wish I mean, I kind of knew the thesis of Future Shock at some point, but I probably should just look at a quick wiki of it, but not sure. I don't know what to say about it. Have to pass. Sorry.
Okay, Eric Karts, do you think MK Ultra is still being used today as in musicians and Hollywood types?
Yep, I do. Sure do. I'm a big fan of the website. Listen to me, if I'm such a big fan, why is it escaping me off the top of my head? Oh, Vigilant Citizen. I don't know if it's one guy or a lot of people writing it, but there's excellent articles that go back many, many years. And one thing that you see on that site are dissections of basically mind control in Hollywood and like music videos. The famous Katy Perry music video featuring the monarch butterflies. Really great kind of breakdown of that. But frankly, MK Ultra, Project Monarch is a very, very big topic on that site. I'm a fan of that site. In fact, there's Roseanne Barr has been in the news quite a bit lately. Of course, I have a lot of respect for her, and I'll tell you why. Roseanne Barr has been very, very forthright about MK Ultra type activities going on in Hollywood. She's talked openly about Project Monarch. Who else does that? Well, Roseanne Barr does. So there's, and then if you search, particularly through YouTube, you'll find a lot of information in the music industry. I think that's like the worst of all the industries in terms of control by people who had been involved in the music industry, from like pop music to like rappers and everything else. And you've got these people talking about what it's like to be essentially owned in this industry and being forced to promote certain cultural narratives, all of which are really destructive narratives, destructive ideologies in our society. I listened to an interview with a rapper. He's like, they basically told me I had to like write cop killer type raps and things like this. And he said, I didn't want to do that. And when you don't go along with it, they discard you, or they'll even destroy your career. They'll do whatever they do to get you out.
Well, that brings me to the next one, actually, which was from Kevin Tipcorn, the Wu-Tang Clan interview about their Nikes and how they'd kill themselves if they ever had to wear those sneakers. Sits with him to this day, like sits with Kevin to this day. So did you ever see that with the Wu-Tang Clan? An interview with them?
No.
Okay.
Do you know about this? Do you want to talk about it?
No, I don't. I just thought you might, because you talk about the Wu-Tang Clan sometimes. But we'll have to look into that, because that sounds interesting. Obviously, if it affected you that much, it's along the lines of what we're talking about. So
what we're seeing is a very widespread, it's a phenomenon. It's not restricted to just one area of our civilization. It's this behind the scenes form of control. And I do want to return to this next week when we come back and do this. And I think I'm just going to call it the control system. It's very, very, very important, and it never gets looked at. But there's ways that we, the public, are corralled like barn animals to a certain destination.
Okay, I'm going to give you another little one from Tim F. Richard Alejandro Rojas keeps saying he's supposed to be able to interview Luis Elizondo eventually. Do you think you'd be able to get him on your show? I'd give him anything to hear you interview him.
Interview Elizondo or Alejandro?
Elizondo.
Oh yeah, I would like to. I don't know.
It's very close, isn't it?
Well, I didn't know if person asking the question was asking about Alejandro Rojas or Luis Elizondo. It'd be easier to get Alejandro since I know him. Luis Elizondo, I would absolutely love to.
Yeah,
he's
that would be
not
great.
particularly amenable to putting himself. He's done it on a few occasions. He has subjected to interviews with the UFO community, but it's very evident that whole crowd, the TTSA group, they're not courting people like us. They're not courting the UFO research field. They've got other sites, and so they've pretty much avoided. And I think one of the reasons they've avoided us is we would probably ask some very difficult questions. Is it aviation or aerospace, dude? Or where have all the money for the reports actually gone? What reports did you actually investigate during your tenure there? Like, we haven't heard anything about this. We hear about the Tic Tac UFO incident, the gimbal UFO video. Like, what have they actually investigated? I would like to know. There's a lot of unanswered questions about what they did, what Elizondo did at TTSA. You don't really hear anything about it. So I would like to talk with him for sure.
I would, I was just about to say this, and I saw a couple other people did too, Greg Phillips and Jay King. I was going to say, I would vote for put off. I would vote if we could get in there and talk to any of those guys. I would definitely vote for put off. Oh my God,
hell yes!
The things that he's been into for his career, he probably couldn't tell us any of it. Of course,
I've asked him. I mean, I just asked him a month ago, I think, or a month and a half ago. I said, "Look, will you let's talk? I'd like to chat with you privately or for an interview." And he says, "Well, maybe privately." Interview, we'll think about that one, but like, that's a no. Like, that's the way he is. So he's
put off on Dolan.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
The Richard Dolan show.
What I could do is, I mean, if I will probably, if I'm pushy enough and annoying enough, I'd get to be able to chat with him privately. But I'm pretty sure he would not subject to an interview.
Yeah, and we wouldn't get to hear the things that we probably really want to hear, anyways.
Yeah. So
I mean, yeah. Right. So okay. Where are we? Is it time to wrap
scrolling.
Up?
Well,
okay.
We should soon. I'm just scrolling at these.
Do I think, a chance to read some
Richard,
stuff.
Do you think this continues today with the infiltration of Antifa and the Proud Boys? Oh yeah. Well, Antifa. I have a whole analysis of what we call color revolution paradigms. So I'm going to come back to this one too. Basically, what we have is a situation where in the old days, the CIA themselves would orchestrate coups and orchestrate fake revolutions like they did in Iran in 1953, like they did in Guatemala in 1954, like early versions of what we call popular revolutions, but they were all orchestrated. They've since really, they still engage in that, but they really have handed it off to nonprofits like the National Endowment for Democracy, and which was founded in 1983, and the rubric below them, they fund other NGOs in other nations that destabilize entire societies. It's a very, very sophisticated game. Like, these NGOs do what the CIA used to do back in olden times. And what they do is they are all about creating cultural revolutions, like literally cultural revolutions. And what I believe has happened in the last, let's say, 5 years, is that model has actually been brought back to the United States itself. And so we're seeing a kind of intentional stirring up of political extremism. And all of this is for a reason. But I think I'll save that, and we'll come back to that on another occasion. It's an important point, though. All right. I'm always like with the TikTok, and you want to keep going. And I'm like, it's getting late.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we have another interview tomorrow. It's not going to be live, but so I think we will wrap up for the night.
Oh, we do?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good.
Do we want to tell them who it's with? Or no, we'll keep that.
Who am I?
You can't remember?
I cannot. Do you want to just tell me who I'm interviewing?
David Paulides.
Are we doing him tomorrow?
I think so.
Okay, well, I'm hoping. I didn't know that we had actually nailed a date down. I am in communication with David Paulides, which would be, and we're very friendly with each other. He's been busy, and I'm definitely, we've all been busy, but we've agreed we're going to do an interview. I really want to do a good and thorough interview with him. He's a fascinating researcher, one of the most fascinating out there today.
I think that'd be a great two-parter because there's just so much. I mean, he's put out so many books.
Oh, I'm a huge. We are both huge fans of his work. And you know, he's the expert on missing people, but not just any missing cases, like bizarre, like hard to explain missing cases. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So anything else you want to let people know?
Well, look, we have a newsletter. So I would really strongly encourage you, if you want to keep on track of what we are up to. I mean, and we have been so very busy lately, and I don't see that slowing down. So if you want to follow us, newsletter is a great way to do it. You can go to our website, Richard Dolan Members. Just click the way to sign up for the newsletter. It's free. You don't have to become a member of the site. It doesn't matter. It just gives you information on what we do. Every week goes in your mailbox. And that's a good way to keep track on what we're up to.
Yeah, because we include upcoming events and just about everything that we are involved in.
And Tracy has put this together. And let me just say, it was a lot of work, and it's beautiful.
It's worth it because a lot of
beautiful.
People actually asked for it. This is why we did it. People didn't want to always have to go to the site. They wanted to show up in their inbox and know what's going on. And once in a while, we'll send out something that's happening last minute, like we did yesterday. That's another thing we can use it for. But it's just to communicate with you, and we're not going to sell anybody's information. We are not into that. So you can either sign up, as he was saying, Richard was saying, on richarddolanmembers.com or on the Facebook page, Richard Dolan Intelligence Disclosure.
Yeah. Be there, don't be square.
Yeah. I just want to end this by thanking, as always, Lori and Michael of Pursuing X. Again, we couldn't do this without them. They're moderating the chat with all of you. They're sending the questions to us. And they have just helped us in so many ways. And we are so, so grateful for all of their help.
Yes, absolutely. And in the spirit of tonight, I want to give a love and light to everyone out there. And really not even ironically, because not ironically, I think there's wonderful, nice things about the New Age culture that are endearing. And I don't think it's all like horrible, but I just wanted to say, like, there are things that have been destructive and that we should look at least to some extent from the point of view as an operation. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's wise advice. So.
All right.
All right.
Well, I think it's done. We're done for the day. Don't you think so?
I think so.
I think we've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's always hard to say goodbye. We enjoy being out here with you, but we do want to thank you for spending the time with us. Sorry about the glitch in the middle where we had a reboot, but it looks like all is well.
Thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you. I see a lot of the members are here. Thank you for the super chats. You guys are so generous. Thank you for supporting Richard's work. And if you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the little bell for notifications. Then you'll always get a notification when anything is being released, because these days we're releasing stuff all the time, and that's one way to stay on top of it. So.
Absolutely.
All right.
And with that, good night, everyone. Bye now.